Hello, Gold Derby. Welcome to our SAG Awards slugfest for the film side for the 2021 calendar year. I am Marcus James Dixon. I'm here with Chris Beachum and Daniel Montgomery. And let's start with the big category right away, Best Film Ensemble. The odds at Gold Derby have Belfast winning. Do any of you agree or disagree with that? Let's start with Chris.
That's what I have in first. It's the movie that's done the best overall across festivals and with people starting to see it. The public still hasn't seen it, obviously. And a lot of people even in the industry haven't yet seen it. But it does have a great cast. When you've got those four actors, all in supporting, and the lead is the little boy, I think that could be really, really good, directed by an actor. So that doesn't hurt it at SAG, especially. Might hurt it ultimately at the DGA, but he's directed a lot of movies. I do have Belfast #1. The other movie that seems to be doing the best overall over the course of the short season so far is Power of the Dog. I've got that in second. Another great cast as well, with almost all of the main characters getting high up in the predictions for their categories. Just to finish off here, my other three, but I'm not as confident, are House of Gucci, King Richard, and Tragedy of Macbeth. But boy, I mean, Don't Look Up is probably the biggest cast of the year, of well-known people at least. Nightmare Alley is a great cast. French Dispatch is a great cast. West Side Story. I could easily see Coda. SAG is so welcoming to all sorts of groups. That one makes sense to me. So that's a few of the ones, and I think I've named at least 10. Mass, all four people are getting awards consideration.
What about you, Daniel? What do you have winning, and then what are your other nominations?
Yeah, I agree with Chris in that this category is really all over the place. I think it was last year or the year before where it was similar, like our top 5 predicted nominees and our next 5 seemed just as plausible. I've got Belfast at #2 because it does seem like it's becoming the Best Picture frontrunner at the moment, and it's a family drama. I think films with a lot of interaction between cast members tend to do well here, but that's actually why I have King Richard at #1 because that's another family drama. It's Black casts tend to do better at the SAG Awards than like they do at other events. I think SAG-AFTRA.
I would say diverse.
Such a large group.
Diverse,
yeah. But we've seen like Black Panther and Hidden Figures and
Parasite on the diversity
Parasite.
side.
And so I think SAG-AFTRA, being such a large group, more than well over 100,000 members voting for the winners, is probably more diverse as a group as a whole than a lot of other awards groups are or have been historically. So that might be why we've seen that. That
is my concern about Belfast actually winning, is it's not going to be. But I will say one thing, if I were, and I'm going off memory here, I didn't look this up before our chat. Oscars had, 8 or 9 Best Picture nominees last year? Only 2 of them were SAG Ensemble nominees. SAG was way off last year on potentially predicting what was, and all they had to do was get 5 out of the 10, so right. They only had 2.
I think you're right. I think it was Minari and the Trial of the Chicago 7, and SAG actually went with Trial last year. Didn't everyone think it'd be, oh no, I remember last year I was going with Minari, and I wrote all these articles. Minari is going to win SAG Ensemble.
Well, it did make sense following the diversity. I mean, but Trial did have at least some diversity.
And the biggest cast, I believe.
Well, Nomadland went on to win Best Picture Oscar, and it really didn't have a cast, especially of actors. And then they really went strong for Ma Rainey, which didn't get into Best Picture at the Oscars. And I forget what the other one was. Five Bloods, yeah. Which was all about diversity. So.
I agree with you guys that The Power of the Dog and Belfast are #1 and #2. Right now I have in third place House of Gucci, and it kind of reminds me of American Hustle that year where that won, and it was kind of the comedic cast and full of A-listers, just like House of Gucci. And so, I mean, that's possible. I have Mass in 5th. I have Don't Look Up in fourth. Mass is interesting because it's so small. I mean, you have the four main ones, and then you have a couple more people working at the church. And I don't know, will they go with something that small? I mean, Sideways was kind of a smaller cast, and Little Miss Sunshine, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I don't have Mass in my five. I have, King Richard, Belfast, House of Gucci. As we're recording this, pretty much no one has seen House of Gucci. So that's still kind of a question mark in this race. Power of the Dog, and I actually have Coda in my fifth spot. But yeah.
Sometimes I work backwards. So at the moment, and I'm not trying to get ahead, but I'm thinking Denzel is going to win at SAG. So if he wins actor, I'm sort of thinking it's got to be up for ensemble too. But there's so many good possibilities there. But I didn't mean to interrupt. But there's about three like all-star casts with House of Gucci, Don't Look Up, and Nightmare Alley, and then West Side Story. Well, French Dispatch too, but I think it's kind of starting to trail. And then West Side Story's got one of the most massive casts. A lot of them are more Broadway stars and more unknowns, though. I wouldn't call them an all-star cast.
But if they go for a smaller cast, Mass is exactly the kind of film that would.
Listen, they nominated Key and Peele once on comedy series or comedy ensemble. So Mass would double that up.
Yeah, and the Beasts of No Nation had it had a large ensemble cast, but it had 3 people credited for SAG purposes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It was, small casts can do it. I do think when you have a small cast, it helps if it's something like Mass, where it's literally 4 actors in a room acting at each other. I feel like that's what voters like to see. I think that's why Game of Thrones never won the ensemble award. It had a massive cast, but Game of Thrones at any given time was 10 different separate shows happening all at once with different storylines that didn't connect until the very, very end. So I feel like when you have a lot of cast interaction, like when characters play family members, when they're all on trial in a courtroom, like Trial of the Chicago 7 last year, when they're in that church building in Mass, when, family story like Coda, that's something that I look for in this category. Don't Look Up, just based on the trailer. It's another one that most people haven't seen. It's Netflix. Also, we know SAG loves Netflix. So that looks like a lot of A-list stars in the room together, acting at each other. That could be a big one to watch for. So yeah, I feel like there are 15 maybe films in this that have a legitimate shot at this.
This is a really tough category. I don't think anyone's mentioned Dune yet, but in a way, HBO Max is the new Netflix. You can sit at home and watch all of these big budget movies on your TV. And Dune has a very fantastic cast, and it's a little bit of the Game of Thrones thing where they're all kind of separated, but it's about a core family, and they're together in a lot of the scenes.
Let me mention 2 more. Licorice Pizza, all-star cast. The 2 leads are sort of unknown, but one of them is an acting legend's son, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. And Paul Thomas Anderson movies, ensembles have gotten in here. The other one, and Marcus was the one that really pointed this out years ago, but a mix of TV and movie people can be a plus. I think that helped Black Panther, having such a mix. Being the Ricardos is all about a TV show, and several of the actors in there are more TV stars. I know Tony Hale is in it, for example. Alia Shawkat from Arrested Development. Forget that there's 3 or 4 TV stars. J.K. Simmons is sort of a blend of a TV and movie star, but it's all about, maybe the most successful and most acclaimed TV show of all time. So if that takes off, that could be a possibility here.
And also The Humans, the Tony-winning adaptation, and Eternals too. I mean, don't count out Marvel here because of what happened with Black Panther 3 years ago. Should we move on? We've mentioned a million movies here, but I'm sure between the 3 of us, we've mentioned the 5 nominees. Okay, so let's go on to actress. And right now at Gold Derby, Kristen Stewart is in the lead for Spencer. She plays Lady Diana. And it was kind of, if you look at the chart at Gold Derby, she kind of started out in the middle, and she's slowly risen to top, and now she's quite far ahead of Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Daniel, let's start with you. Do you agree with the odds that Kristen Stewart can pull it off?
Yeah, I do have her winning. Sort of, like as soon as people started seeing Spencer at the festival, she started shooting up our odds. So I feel like she has sweet potential. It's too early to say for sure, but like if she is the Oscar frontrunner, which I also have her at #1 there, I think she wins this, just as a part of her season-long run. I think Jessica Chastain, I've got her in. Olivia Coleman, I've got her in. Lady Gaga's a big question mark because House of Gucci hasn't really screened yet. So that could happen. She got in for A Star is Born. So there are a lot of ways this category could go. I have Tessa Thompson getting in for Passing because it's Netflix and because I just have a hunch about that movie being bigger than it's being given credit for at this point. But even then, there are people I haven't mentioned, like Frances McDormand. We know, they like her, even though she didn't win last year for Nomadland, even though she went on to win the Oscar. Penelope Cruz, who I think is likely to be an Oscar nominee for Parallel Mothers. I don't have her getting in here, but I think she could still get in there. So there's a lot going on here, but yeah, I've got Kristen Stewart out front.
And Chris?
Kristen Stewart out front, Jessica Chastain. And then my other three, I've got Penelope Cruz, Tessa Thompson, Frances McDormand. I'm very happy with that 5. I will say, as diverse and open-armed as SAG voters typically are, they don't often nominate foreign language performances. We've seen several people over the years get in at the Oscars, but not get in with SAG. And I'm thinking like 2 years ago, Antonio Banderas. So Penelope might have a little bit of a battle there. I guess I would put Olivia Coleman in. Several people have seen that and tell me I'm crazy for not having her in, but and I'm sure she's ultimately going to be in my picks, but I also sense a fatigue sometimes within an award season of somebody that's getting it over and over and over and over and over again for everything they do, although it's never hurt Meryl Streep. And Olivia Coleman just won an Emmy, so there's not much fatigue going on with her.
And the irony is that there wouldn't be that much fatigue for her at the SAG Awards, although again, people might not realize because it feels like she's been nominated and winning so much. She still hasn't won an individual SAG Award. Her only SAG Awards were the Ensemble wins for The Crown for the last couple of years.
She can hardly ever lose at the Golden Globe Awards.
Yeah, she won like 3 times at the Globes.
I will say between Gold Derby's #1 and #2, Stewart and Chastain, Chastain kind of has this overdue factor that follows her around. Every year we talk about, is this her year? Is this her year? And maybe it's her year, whereas this is Kristen Stewart's, first real awards contender in Spencer. So I wonder if that, if you're a voter and it's these two that you're considering, would you maybe go with Jessica Chastain, who people feel should have some more trophies on her shelf? I'm looking at her SAG history. She has a win for the Help ensemble, but nothing individual. Certainly no Oscars.
Yeah, I can see it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the interesting thing is that our 1 and 2 are both actors who are very likely to be the only SAG nominees for their films, which happens. Like it's not unheard of. Like talking about people who swept, Renee Zellweger and Judy. But like, if House of Gucci hits big and Lady Gaga gets a Best Actress nominee, and that's up for Ensemble, Frances McDormand, Tragedy of Macbeth, that could be an Ensemble nominee. So depending on what the other nominations for these films look like, that could change the calculus here.
And Jessica has missed out. I would like to think there's a groundswell to finally get her, some of this awards but she's missed some pretty, I thought, I'm going to say the word easy, but I don't mean easy getting in, but just very Oscar baity kind of movies that she just didn't get nominated more than the 2. So I don't, even at the Oscars, I mean, that movie might have won makeup and hair, maybe 2 other nominations. It's going to be a very low Oscar nomination total, if any, beyond her.
I do have Frances getting in Mcdormand. But someone the other day said that awards voters may have Frances McDormand fatigue from the whole Nomad.
I wish they had it about 7 or 8 months ago.
So, I mean, it's possible she won't get in for this, but I do have her in
Lady
place.
Macbeth, though, is one of the
I know
most iconic characters in literature history. I mean, and we know she knocks every role out of the park. I just can't imagine how she doesn't go through the season not getting in pretty much everywhere.
She is campaigning for this. I've seen her at a Q&A.
She, her husband's the director and writer and producer. So yeah, she was on a Q&A with them.
Jennifer Hudson for Respect, don't count her out. Kate Blanchett, Nightmare Alley.
It's a fun category. And yet I feel very comfortable in my 5. Unlike Ensemble, where I only felt comfortable with 2.
So let's go on to Best Film Actor. Gold Derby's frontrunner, Will Smith. King Richard, is this finally his year? And then there's Benedict Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog. Denzel, you mentioned him earlier. Chris, do you want to start with him?
Well, I've got him in first. Again, a literature classic, playing Macbeth. So he only has the 1 SAG award, which was famous. I think we covered that weekly almost for weeks and weeks and weeks, to the point of I was in the press room that night and asked him about that. Because for some odd reason, he had never, was a 2-time Oscar winner and had never won at the SAG Awards, even in an ensemble. So he's got that off his plate now. My 5, and I feel pretty comfortable. I don't know exactly who I would take out. Denzel, Benedict, Will Smith, Peter Dinklage. SAG likes Peter Dinklage a lot. Well, I've given him 1, I guess, individual, but the Emmys, I think, is more what I was referring to. He's liked in the industry. And Andrew Garfield, I've had in my Oscar picks and my SAG picks ever since both centers opened, based off some things I heard way back in the summer. Somebody that would know within the industry, as long as I'm not saying who it was, said he's going to remind people why he won a Tony Award for Angels in America. He's that good. So I've kept him in my picks the whole way, even though a lot of people don't have him in their picks. So that's my 5, and I feel comfortable with that 5.
And Daniel, who do you have winning, and then who rounds out your category?
I've got Will Smith winning for King Richard. I think Denzel Washington, the fact that he won that award for Fences after, he hadn't won a SAG award before, Glory predated the SAG Awards. And then, famously the year of Training Day, that was looking a lot like Russell Crowe for A Beautiful Mind all year. And then Russell Crowe threw a phone at someone. I can't remember the whole story, but like that turned to Denzel Washington post-SAG.
Right.
Which was why he hadn't won.
Russell Crowe probably would have beaten Denzel at the Oscars.
Probably, yeah. Had it not been for that late break.
But then Denzel probably would have won for Fences over Casey Affleck many years later, because people really wanted him to have a second.
Somebody we've noticed for years at Gold Derby, every time we write an article about this person, it gets 1 million clicks. It's Benedict Cumberbatch, and he has been nominated for the SAG Awards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. He's never won, not even for an ensemble. I wonder if this is his year. Power of the Dog, people think could win ensemble at SAG and Best Picture at the Oscars. So he only has 1 Oscar nomination for The Imitation Game. I wonder if
Emmy winner too.
That could happen. It's just a matter of how much people embrace Power of the Dog and a darker role that he plays in it. Will Smith feels much more like the crowd pleaser type, and that I think could help at SAG.
I'm interested to see. Denzel's not known for campaigning. Peter Dinklage never campaigns. Will Smith will be Mr. Campaigner this whole season. He will do everything. Benedict, maybe not. We haven't seen him do that, but we haven't seen him not do that. And he's got all that Marvel experience, so he knows how to work the world press. And Andrew Garfield, I think, would get out there and campaign a good bit. Bradley Cooper, we haven't even mentioned. If Nightmare Alley is what we think it is, he's racking up Oscar nominations right and left, and it still doesn't have a win. I don't see anybody else here that really jumps out at me.
Of all of these front runners in this category, whose speech do you want to see the most? You want to see Will Smith get up there and give his speech. It just seems like he's always kind of an afterthought when it comes to awards. And now he's finally possibly going to win. That speech will probably be the most viral one of the night. I mean, I love Denzel, but he's not gonna probably wow us with his speech. Neither is Benedict.
That year, Denzel won and Russell Crowe famously lost. Will Smith, that was one of his nominations. And I want to say the other time he was nominated, Denzel didn't win, but Denzel might have been in that group too. No, it was Jamie Foxx won. So he's lost to a black actor both times.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I feel like neither of Will Smith's previous nominations, like he was never like super close to winning. I don't think, when he was up for Ali, that was really felt like Russell Crowe versus Denzel. I don't think people really thought he was going to win for Pursuit of Happiness.
He didn't really have a shot either time.
Yeah. So now that he's actually at or near the top, we know he'll be campaigning. He has put in this decades-long career now. So it's like, if he has a moment, it's a perfect time to give him his Oscar. Sort of like the Julia Roberts, Aaron Brockovich moment, or the Sandra Bullock Blindside moment, where it's just.
Well, I was going to say Sandra Bullock. It reminds me so much. I mean, Aaron Brockovich was a very serious drama. This reminds me more of Sandra Bullock winning. Somebody who's been in tons of blockbusters, very popular within the industry. A little bit lighter movie, not as heavy as, say, an Aaron Brockovich. The Blind Side had its drama, but it was also it had its funny moments too, and so Will Smith could be Sandra Bullock here.
I love these comparisons. Okay, so let's move on to Best Film Supporting Actress. Right now, the front runner at Gold Derby is Kristen Dunst, The Power of the Dog. But I think it's going to be Ann Dowd. She's an Emmy winner for The Handmaid's Tale, but she's never actually gotten in for that show at SAG individually, just as a member of the ensemble. And in Mass, she gives the performance everyone's talking about. The mother of the child, who I don't want to give anything away, but there's two. It's a movie about two couples, and she plays the more emotional one, and that helps if you're trying to win an award. Who thinks I'm wrong or right? Daniel, what about you?
I have Kirsten Dunst winning. I had Ann Dowd for a while. And again, we talk about, SAG loves character actors. She is very much that. She has been hot for the last several years. She famously did her own campaign for Compliance when that film was so small that the distributor didn't even have a budget for a campaign. So she sent screeners out, which I think, she didn't end up getting many nominations for that, but that I think set the stage for the career that she has.
That could have put her on track to get the roles she started getting.
Exactly. Yeah, that led to, Handmaid's Tale, which won her an Emmy and raised her profile, and that led to Mass, which is now could be that Oscar nomination. And but I look at her and I think it really depends on how Mass does elsewhere, because I think Power of the Dog is a likelier Best Picture nominee, a likelier ensemble nominee here at SAG. I do worry that if Ann Dowd becomes like the only game in town for Mass, then she'll end up a little bit like Willem Dafoe was for the Florida Project, where he seemed like, oh, he's due, he's gonna get it, but then he's the only recognition for that film throughout the season, and that ended up going to Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards, which was much bigger film for its awards profile across the board. So that's why I think Kirsten Dunst right now, but again, like it's early yet. I think Mass could get that ensemble nomination. I think Mass could get other acting nominations. So if that happens, then it could be Ann Dowd back on top.
Chris, Dowd or
who are
Dunst?
your five? Well, I want to hear Daniel's five.
Right now, it's Dunst, Dowd. Then I've got Ruth Negga for Passing. Same hunch I have about that film, that it's going to be bigger than people think. Ingenue Ellis for King Richard, because I think King Richard will be that crowd pleaser that does well, and Katrina Balfe for Belfast. I might put in Judi Dench because it's the SAG Awards and they love her, but I'm not sure who I would take out for her.
I've got four of the five you just said. I've got Ann Dowd in first. I think we just have to wait and see how things start taking off. It would not help her at all if Martha Plimpton gets in, because it's not a case of like Sam Rockwell versus Woody Harrelson, or, obvious people can get around vote splits. I don't know that it's all that obvious if both Ann Dowd and Martha Plimpton start getting in everywhere, like Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz. I just don't know that it becomes an obvious choice. I've got Kirsten Dunst, I've got Ruth, I've got Ingenue Ellis, I've got Meryl Streep, but I really think I need to take that out, only because when I saw the trailer, I didn't realize she was playing a truly awful, out of touch, clueless president of the United States, which seems like voters would just eat that up. Judi Dench, Katrina Balfe, seems like they would both get in, or neither. I don't know. And then the only other one I'm really considering, and it's a strong consideration, is Marlee Matlin, who deserves to be back at the Oscars after over 35 years roughly. So I could see that happening. And I think it was tremendous when she won that Oscar. I can still remember that night, and that acceptance speech is a great one on YouTube if you ever want to watch it. She didn't have the career I think that she wanted, just because people weren't writing roles for her, but she made the most of it. I mean, she was, I don't know how she didn't get an Emmy nomination for like The West Wing. She was perfect on The West Wing.
Oh, yeah.
She should have been made a regular on The West Wing. And so
I think
many other guest roles.
I think she might have had a guest bid for The Practice. I think she was nominated.
The Practice, and also she was incredible on Picket Fences as the dancing bandit. So I mean, she has made the most of her career, and it's so great to see her back in such an awards contender. So I would love to see that happen, but I think we just need about nine or 10 people that all really have a shot.
Especially in a role that, being so famously a deaf actress winning Best Actress at the Oscars, and still the youngest Best Actress winner in the history of the Oscars. And now to be in a film that so centers the deaf experience and the deaf family, a mostly deaf family, it feels like the narrative is there for her, and that could really help her.
I'll mention two other, and then I want to hear Marcus's. Jane Houdyshell won the Tony for this role. So
Only Murders.
And Daniel, you weren't supposed to hear that, but she's on. Well, I think she was in the first episode, so you saw that one. And Ariana DeBose. Now, is she playing the role that Rita Moreno won for?
Yes.
So we know that's a very awards baity kind of a role. So and then another Broadway person. So there's two more possibilities.
And there are over 100,000 voters. I think it's around 160,000. Many of them work in TV. So that's why I think when it comes to Judi Dench versus Katrina Balfe, will one get in, will both get in? I think Katrina has the edge there. There's a lot of Outlander fans out there. We just saw Tobias Menzies win an Emmy for The Crown. And I think that's also going to help Ann Dowd win. Although now that I say that, Kristen Dunst was in Fargo, which is a TV show. I don't know.
Kristen Dunst might have had as long a career as Ann Dowd. She's not they're not in the same age range, but Kirsten started when she was a kid, and most people thought she should have been nominated for Interview with the Vampire when she was maybe 11. So it's not like she's just showing up.
But yeah, everything you said about Marlee Matlin, I totally agree. I want her to win every award. I think she was on Celebrity Apprentice as well, which you guys wouldn't know, but
I don't know that that's still on her resume.
If she made it out of that unscathed, then she deserves a
Well, let's
SAG and
move
an
on.
Oscar nomination for that.
The final category for film would be film supporting actor. And the odds at Gold Derby have Cody Smith-McPhee winning for Power of the Dog. Second place, Richard Jenkins, The Humans. I have those two as well. It's the veteran versus the newbie here. What do you guys think? How about you, Chris?
I've got reversed. Richard Jenkins in first, the veteran. Cody Smith-McPhee would be, I think, the second youngest supporting actor winner at the Oscars. Maybe the single youngest supporting actor win at the SAG Awards, because the youngest at the Oscars was Timothy Hutton long before there were SAG Awards. So Richard Jenkins is in the role that won Reed Birney the Tony Award. So we know that it's a very juicy role, and Reed Birney, of all people, is quite in the hunt for Mass. So it'd be interesting if they ever come up in a race against each other, because that couldn't have gone over well at Reed's house. That Jane got the role, but he did not.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. Someone fill us in on the comment.
Well, you never know. It could have been a scheduling thing. You never know what
it could be scheduling. It could not have been anybody's fault, but also Richard Jenkins is a two-time Oscar nominee, and that plays into these things too. I don't know how you say his first name, but I've got Hines from Belfast.
I think it's Kieran like Culkin.
Okay. I've got, although it could be Jamie Dornan. I think Hines would get in over Dornan if it came down to one or the other. I've got Bradley Cooper. When I saw that trailer and saw how over the top he was, he could be a double nominee this year. It looks like he's playing John Peters, the legendary hairdresser from the 70s who becomes Barbara Streisand's husband and goes on to be a producer. And he's yelling at Cooper Hoffman in the trailer. So it just feels like, to me, he's very over the top. And Paul Thomas Anderson's writing is so great and everything. And then my sort of surprise, even more surprising than Bradley Cooper, at least based on odds. Well, no, Bradley's in fourth in the odds. I've got Corey Hawkins' Tragedy of Macbeth. That's a juicy role. And he's been moving his way up into the industry more and more, being seen in high profile stuff. And if Joel Cohen has cast him over probably more well-known people in his age range, then that tells me a lot. He's got billing on the posters right after Denzel and Francis, so that's a big thing. All those things together make me wonder. I tell you who's coming on strong is Jason Isaacs. We're about to interview him, and I know that he's going to campaign very hard. Jared Leto, I didn't even recognize him in that trailer, so he might be due for a comeback. A lot of people are picking Jesse Plemons. I don't buy it. That's not a big role compared to, especially to Cody. John Bernthal is about to do an interview with us. He's got 4 movies this year, but the one that everybody's talking about is King Richard. And the only other one I guess I would mention, well, 2 more, Al Pacino. Al's going to chew up scenery, so I don't know what he does in House of Gucci, but he's going to have a good role. And J.K. Simmons, from what I'm hearing on Being the Ricardos, is nobody could have played William Frawley, aka Fred Mertz, better than J.K. Simmons. And he actually has, it's not just a cameo, he actually has a role in this film. So I think I listed 15 people. The first 5 I said, that's often typical in supporting, especially at this stage.
Yeah, this category feels the most like ensemble in the sense that you've got 15, 20 people, and it's a little too early to tell who's really going to pop. I've got Cody winning sort of by default, because I think, he's got a bigger showcase role than Jesse Plemons once people started seeing that film. He started moving up and Jesse Plemons started moving down. I've got Richard Jenkins in there, but I'm not sure how The Humans will play and how big a factor that film will be as a whole. I've got both Belfast men in there just because I think Belfast is going to be a big contender overall. I've got Jason Isaacs in there, but again, I can name 5 other, like Bradley Cooper, for Licorice Pizza, depending on when that screens, how well that's received, and he's overdue. Jared Leto was just nominated for The Little Things. He could get nominated for anything, so he could possibly get it.
That's SAG, not Oscars.
Yes. But Willem Dafoe, Nightmare Alley, we haven't seen yet. Corey Hawkins, Tragedy of Macbeth.
If Willem Dafoe gets in, I was thinking about this over the weekend. Nobody's seen Nightmare Alley. In fact, we were discussing some possible interviews and other things with them. And, we're just late October as we record this. They're still working on it, not filming, but they're still working on the movie. It's going to make its date. Everything's fine, no problems. Willem Dafoe is probably the single most overdue person, I think, of established, maybe him and Bradley Cooper, people of the last, decade, 15 years that keep getting nominated. He's eventually, Glenn Close, I guess, is the queen of all of that. But I think if he gets in, that means it's a very meaty role, and he's probably going to win. I don't have him getting nominated at the moment because we just haven't seen anything, but he really strikes me as somebody, he would overtake Richard Jenkins' overdue narrative, that's for sure.
Certainly, yeah.
So,
and especially if it's big, because what he needs, Willem Dafoe, more than anything, is a Best Picture contender. Because his last,
he's always in a movie that just has hardly anything else.
Shadow of the Vampire,
Florida Project should have been nominated.
Florida Project and Eternity's Gate. Those were not films with any other attention really besides Willem Dafoe. Like, he needs not only that overdue narrative, but a film as a whole with enough of that momentum that it's going to get him over the line.
Another name I don't think we've mentioned in this category, Andrew Garfield, Eyes of Tammy Faye. He was smart to go supporting here, lead for Tick, Tick, Boom. It's sometimes, if they love Jessica Chastain's performance so much that they give her the win, maybe he'll get carried along for the ride in terms of a nomination. Jeffrey Wright, too, I'm hearing great things about him in French Dispatch.
Okay. I haven't seen that one yet. We'll go back up to Bradley Cooper for a second. Let's just say it's a great year for him, and nobody's seen either movie really yet. Nightmare Alley for lead, Licorice Pizza for supporting. If he gets in for both, I think he's going to be a lot to win, probably supporting. That's happened many times over the years. It's not happened every single time. I remember Julianne Moore didn't win for either one. The first person in the history of the Oscars to be up in both and not win was Sigourney Weaver back in the late 80s.
And so especially interesting statistic about that. I wrote an article about it. Just wanted to say that several women have been nominated twice and lost both. There have been no men to be nominated twice and lose both. Every man who's been nominated twice has won.
Well, he's getting into that. He's right at the double-digit mark, right?
Because he has the producing.
Both. He has 8 nominations. So if he gets,
he really should have pitched in a couple of lines on that Song Is Born song, just so he could have won with them. He wrote some songs, co-wrote. I don't know how he didn't help co-write that one, but if he gets into lead and supporting, I'll probably put him in first and never take him out. Because I think there's going to be a groundswell, to give him one or the other. And I think lead's a little more difficult this year.
And he's somebody, like I was talking about Will Smith, Bradley's somebody that I want to see him give a speech on a big stage. We've never seen this before.
I will say the next film he's working on as a director, I don't know what else he might have as an actor, is that movie about Leonard Bernstein. Talk about a overpowering, commanding force of nature was Leonard Bernstein, the conductor and composer and performer. If that's as good as it sounds, and he is playing the lead as well as directing, that could be his ticket in a year or two, if this year doesn't work out.
Well, I don't know about you. This was very helpful to me. I was making changes as we were going along. I took people out, I put people in. And if you at home haven't made your predictions yet for SAG, for Oscars, for Grammys, for the CMAs, for the Gotham Awards, and more and more and more, go to goldderby.com and make your picks right now. You can update them later, but it's important to go in and make your first picks right now. Thank you for watching.